everybody. Welcome back to the Damn Yankees podcast produced by Seven Ashes Productions. It is Friday, November 3rd, and we're back. My name is Megan.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how to talk, but, we're back.
We are.
Megan, brother Ryan, baseball dummy Cliff. I'm supposed to do that.
Good job, Annie.
All right.
Yay. Well, it's good to kind of have back on somewhat of a regular schedule instead of months in between.
I bet nobody thought we'd be back in a week. They thought we were lying, but we're back. The World Series champions are the Texas Rangers, and I was right. Just not in as many. They decided to finish in less games.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and was one of the interesting things with this is I kept seeing the graphic coming around that was like one of the least watched World Series. Which I think there's two factors in it. One, we already said the Arizona, we wanted to see the Phillies in it because they'd be a more exciting team, a team that I'd want to watch that series against more because Arizona just doesn't have a lot of star power players.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. The Arizona Diamondbacks are kind of a boring team. And the Rangers just owned them. So, there just wasn't a whole lot of, this wasn't the Cubs versus Guardians. Was it the Indians at the time, or were they the Guardians by then?
I think they were the Indians.
I think they were still the Indians, yeah.
Yeah.
But, it wasn't a World Series like that. It wasn't one that was going to go, even though I think both of us predicted 7 games, it just was very obvious from game one that it wasn't going to go.
That's not how this is working. Yeah, I think Arizona's non-existent pitching depth probably caught up to them, and and the Rangers are just juggernauts. I mean, Adolis Garcia is crazy, and they didn't even need him in the last game.
No, so and that's the whole topic too. Did you? Not to get too far off topic, but there's an Astros fan who's been hater who's he's not an Astros hater, he's an Astros fan who's
right an Astros I knew that's what I meant.
You knew
I know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah, so he claims that Garcia is a steroid user and a cheater, which I find ironic. Yes, because he's got traps. I find ironic that a Astros fan assumes that the only way you can win a ALCS is that you cheat.
It's the only examples he has. So
that's not really ironic. That's just hypocritical.
What'd you say?
That's not really ironic. That's just hypocritical.
Huh. Yeah. True. Okay. All right.
I mean,
he's not a literary dummy, everyone. Okay. So
not an English.
So not an English pod. Yeah. So I mean, I thought that was kind of funny with that, but there is a conspiracy going around that the reason why he was not able to play in the last game or last 2 games of the World Series was because he was tested positive for steroids.
What? Oh my God! I hope that's not
I don't
true.
know if that's true. I would be disappointed, especially after calling out the guy. Told him to wipe his tears. It's okay. Move on.
I mean, it just sounds like butthurt tears. That's all it is. Yeah. I mean, I saw a picture. Somebody posted a picture of him on what team did he get DFA'd from?
Cardinals.
I forget now. The Cardinals, and he had the same neck, and it pretty much looked the same to me.
Yeah.
So
he was a little bit skinnier,
only
but
a little bit skinnier.
But he was 23 versus.
That was several years ago, so it wasn't enough of an increase for me to say that's. We're not talking Barry Bonds on the Pirates too.
And then someone tried to say, look at the head look at his head. Because, Barry Bonds, one of the things that people point to is that his head went from normal size to gigantic and bald.
Pretty big, yeah.
And they were look at Garcia's head. And I'm it didn't really change at all. So, I hope it's not
It didn't
true
look like it changed to me either. So
Garcia is a really fun player, and I would hate for that guy to feel like he's right even though he was
Right.
still wrong
Yeah.
either
Also
way.
that
But
Astro fans can't be right. Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was
I
like
mean,
just.
statistically, sometimes they have to be,
I mean,
even by
I
accident.
guess.
I mean, a broken clock is right twice a
There you go.
twice a
Yeah,
day.
so we'll give them. Well, just not this one, okay?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I
But
think it would just be really like disappointing to find out that that's what if that's
yeah,
true. That'd be. I hope that is a rumor. I mean, it looked like didn't. I mean, when he got injured, didn't he clearly get injured on the field? Or
it seemed that way. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think it's a high. This isn't a Michael Jackson. Michael Jordan goes to the MLB because he's
right.
suspended
Avoid
from
some gambling stuff.
gambling issues, kind of conspiracy. Like there's some like legit, like he seemed to be hurt legitimately,
Yeah.
Um,
but
I'm sorry. Did you not
Rangers,
see the documentary Space Jam? That's not what happened.
That is not
that is
what
not what
happened.
happened.
um,
That is
no,
a
what I
real life
like, what I do
documentary.
find funny, you could find a conspiracy on Twitter for anything because now I'm remembering
Sure.
that I saw like because remember he showed up the next day to the park like game 5 he showed up to the park like ready to go and there were media people saying like he might actually play tonight or maybe he's not as hurt as we thought or whatever before it came out that he's off the roster.
Right.
They there were people like, "Oh, see, I knew it. If he plays tonight, I knew he took steroids." So like
Yeah,
people
I
will
mean, no
find their
matter what,
own
find their own way
things
to
to
make sure that
confirm.
he's
Yeah.
yeah. So real quick though, with how Rangers winning the World Series is pretty big.
Yeah,
For them, they are
they
now
haven't.
they've never won.
I thought they won like 60 years ago or something. This is their first one?
First one. So they leave the winless club, World Series club. There's only 5 teams
Very
left
cool.
of that. They did make the World Series 2 previous ones, and a lot of Texas Ranger fans, especially of that time, were very happy to see them do well. Real quick, they made it in 2010 and lost actually to the Bruce Bochy Giants that year.
Oh, that's
Then they made it in
unfortunate.
2011, which was the more heartbreaking loss because that was the one. I think Game 6 went 11 innings, and they lost it. I think that was the David
I don't
Freese
remember this.
home run in the 11th inning or something.
Okay.
So
I
big
had several
heartbreaking
years where I
loss
would
there. That
refuse.
was what Nelson
Sorry.
Cruz I think was on that team, and third baseman who ended up playing for the I don't know why I'm blanking. Adrian Beltre.
Okay.
Some pretty big
Yeah.
names that were on that roster. I think Cliff Lee was pitching there at the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
Bring it back.
um,
So long ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
um,
that team kind of was able to go full circle and actually win this one. They actually won the first game in 11 innings. They went 11-0 in road games on the way there. They
yeah.
swept the Rays and Orioles, survived Game 5 of the Houston Orioles. The you woke us up game. Isn't that what one of
Mhm.
the relievers said? He
Oh,
woke
yeah, yeah,
up the
yeah.
Houston Astros and then they lost the
Yeah,
next two
after the
games.
benches clearing brawl, yeah, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you
Oh,
just
and I think one thing I forgot until I saw him with the trophy, they signed and lost Jason DeGrom this year.
that's right.
When he was
Yeah.
with the trophy, I was like, oh yeah, they
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
have him.
Good. He does get a ring. That's right.
Yeah. Which is good for him. That's
Yeah.
DeGrom's first rings. Definitely, even though he didn't really have a part of it for this World Series specifically, with his dominance with the Mets and them being so crummy, it must feel nice on the other hand where he didn't have to do a lot of work and they still won versus
Yeah.
doing all the work
For during
and
he
losing.
exactly. Yeah. So
So
his career at least deserves a ring in there. So but yeah, I think one of my favorite things to come out of this World Series was not even really the game itself, but did you see that video of the dad that like he's been a lifetime uh Rangers
I
fan
did not.
and he was, so his son's filming the his reaction to them winning and immediately just starts crying. Like
Oh,
he like
I
hands
think.
on
Oh,
like
I did see this. It popped up on TikTok. Yeah, yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah, and his
Those
mom, I
are
guess his mom apparently said, like, "You're crying more than the day your son's born," and then the dad was like, "I've only known him for 23 years. I've only loved him for 23 years. I've loved the Rangers my whole life." And it was like, woof. Like,
Oof.
I would go start crying right now thinking about it. It was such a, like, that's what this is all about kind of
That's what
moment.
this
It
is
was
all
cool.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, that is really cool. I do remember seeing that video popping up. I don't remember hearing the interaction afterwards, but it's definitely a fun moment. Real quick, one last thing with the Rangers and just their impressive trail to get here, and it probably why it was so emotional is that like it was an up and down season. Obviously, losing DeGrom wasn't good early, but they also had like a really rough July. I think that was the month that they went under 500, and then they
yeah,
had
I
to
remember
turn
thinking, like,
everything
"Oh,
around. Yep,
yeah,
there the Rangers are.
there
They're
they go.
screwing it
They're
all up.
gone. Yep,
But I
Hughes is
think
going to
they
win
had one of the
again."
best Augusts
Did they?
of any
I
team. I
think I
think they were
remember
like
that.
they won 2/3 of their games in August,
I think I
so
remember
they
that.
turned it
Yeah.
around pretty quick. Unlike the Yankees, they could have turned their August
Unlike
around.
the Yankees, yeah. Well, the Yankees didn't
But
sign
anyway,
anyone or, do anything helpful
trade for
in
anyone
last
or do anything.
off season to, or even at the trade deadline to really help them do anything last year. They kind of just folded.
Yeah,
So, speaking of the Yankees, so I guess we can transition there. Um,
right.
the Yankees did make some moves. I don't know if it was, I forget, was it today, yesterday, recently, and they outrighted a few players. And I just had it, and now it's gone. There it is. Okay. So the big name obviously on that list is that Herman was outrighted, so he's no longer on the team. Everybody who was yelling about them to not be on the team, he's no longer on the team anymore. The rest of that list includes Matt Bowman, Franchi Cordero, Jimmy Cordero, another asshole, Billy McKinney, and Ryan Weber.
Yeah.
So I feel
Last
like
thing
the
I'll
only
say about the Jimmy Cordero and the Domingo Herman, you kind of just alluded to it, but like there was a lot of people bragging about the Yankees keeping them on the roster. They did not keep him on the roster, either of them. Whenever
they were on,
somebody
yeah,
goes against the rules of code of conduct within the MLB, they get put on a restricted list, which means they lose their money for the rest of the season. They're not on the roster. They're technically still a member of that team, but they're not. And then once their season is over and the whatever investigation is done, they
it's
get
bad.
outrighted and they don't get any money. Like if they had DFA'd him, they'd have to pay him.
Yeah.
So
So that
I
was
know
the
people
right
were
move, putting
complaining
them on the
about it,
restricted
but
list.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
Um,
moving on.
yeah.
I just wanted to
So
point that out.
that era is over. The weird stuff with Herman going from being suspended for having sticky stuff on his hands that he swears is just resin to a perfect game a few days later, or couple
And
weeks
then
later, to a few
beating up
days
his wife
later
again.
having
Or
alcohol
maybe
problems.
alcohol
And
problem. I don't know if he had the beating
I
his
think
wife this
I
time, but it
think
was
they
just
said no, but I don't, just
you
never
never
know.
know. But
Don't want to
either
insinuate that.
way,
Hopefully he got past and rehabilitated
got
that,
past
but he's
that
back in
part. But he
rehab.
did show
So
up drunk and
and
disorderly in
flip
the
over
locker room.
couches
This is
and break
Herman, right?
Right.
TVs and
Yeah.
what was
This is
that?
Herman, right?
This is
Yeah.
Herman, yes.
Yeah.
So
Jimmy
he has
Cordeo
been.
beat his
You
son or his
you
daughter or something.
I don't see the big deal about showing up drunk. That's how I always showed up to softball, and I was the pitcher.
Well, there's a
Beer league
difference between a
softball is a
beer
little different.
league
Oh,
and Major League Baseball, and there's probably a bit, difference of showing up a little buzzed and acting right
Flipping over and
and coming
having
in
to be held
belligerent and
down by Garrett Cole to
telling off your your manager about something, making fun of somebody who was getting DFA'd or sent down. Oh, right, he made fun of Ron Marinaccio or something because he was getting
oh
sent down that day. Yeah, there
yeah.
was a lot that he was just being a big old dick about. So,
So anyway,
yeah, so he's gone, and
he's gone
not
and
thanks for
good.
the perfect game, I guess, but goodbye. We don't need to talk
That's
to you
Higgy's
anymore.
perfect game, not
Yeah, all right. I'm good with
that's
giving
Higgy's
Higgy that
perfect
credit.
game.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All
But
right,
so we
so going back to the free agents, though, we have 6 of them, right?
yes, 6 or 7 free agents, but a couple of them are like minor league guys, I think, or something.
6 main from the
6,
roster, I think, from last
yeah,
year.
that's probably right. Yeah, yes, 6. Zach
Um,
McAllister is the other one I was thinking of. There's
yeah,
like a 7. Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
My bad.
It's okay. All good.
So Severino's the big name from like who's been on the roster.
Yeah,
Then
been
you
on the
have
Yankees for a long time.
Montas, Middleton,
Middleton, not Middlebrook, like I keep saying
what did I
offline, but
say?
Middleton.
Wandy, IKF, and Luke Weaver.
Yeah,
Um,
Luke Weaver. Yeah.
so any of those guys, just real quick, any of those guys that you would resign?
If I were going to pick one from the list that I know you're not picking is I feel like I'm gonna throw that in there is Wandy. I would like I'm a lot of times I'm a cool vibes in the clubhouse kind of person. I know they have to, shoving on the field is first and foremost, but he is a crazy pants that is I don't know. He's all first of all, our only lefty in the bullpen, at least all season he was. Hopefully we remedy that with another
Consistent,
lefty,
right?
but we don't want
Yeah.
to get rid of our very good lefty. I know he sometimes can be rocky, but like he is a workhorse in that bullpen and he gets us out of some jams more often than not. So I would go with keeping Wandy, re-sign Wandy. I love his energy on the field, just being like, one time he had people come in and smack him to like, I don't know, get
Wake
him
them up.
straight. Yeah.
Okay.
He and Torres, they're goofballs together. So he's got to be a lot of fun in the clubhouse. I think that's a good thing to have, especially in the Yankees stuffed up atmosphere.
Yeah,
So
they don't have a swisher, and they need a swisher. And I don't know if
yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
Peralta's that swisher, but
They also have Canely, so they're two different
yeah.
types of crazy, but for some reason they're both in the bullpen. But yeah, I
They
think
need
if
an everyday starter too. That's a like a swisher. They need a
yeah, like
a
somebody,
lineup
yeah,
kind of
who's
guy.
always in the lineup. Yeah, and one last thing, to remind everybody about Wandy, he pitched in every single game in last year's ALDS and really was one of the reasons to pull us through. So,
Yeah,
to
he's
tighten up those
definitely an
games.
important reliever. I think that
Yeah.
of all the guys who are probably going to get a multi-year deal, any of those guys, he's the only one I can think of that would actually get more than a year. Because the one guy I would go for is Montas, re-signing Montas, but just on a 1 year prove-it deal, as cheap as he can take it, and
Yeah.
uh, and and roll with it for the season.
My
Sorry.
mother watches this.
Um,
Okay.
So part of it is just because we've had so many issues with our rotation. Rodon has had issues. We have him for another 5 years. Um, Nestor Cortez had issues. Likely we're going to have to re-sign another pitcher, but we had not many issues with Clark Schmidt, but I think Clark Schmidt should get traded, and we'll get into that later. And having someone like Montas who can be a potential fifth uh, rotation starter on a 1 year prove it deal when healthy could be a good thing for the Yankees. But that
Yeah.
is mine. I do not think we should re-sign IKF.
No. Yeah, I think IKF, you can make an argument either way. I think he loves being a Yankee. He's a good clubhouse guy, but I also think you can find somebody to do what he did
For
for us
less.
for probably cheaper. I mean, we do
Yeah.
have Oswaldo Cabrera who can play all those positions
And should not be a starter.
should not be a starter. And but he can roam around the field and he
Right.
plays very good defense. And if we're not relying on him for his bat because he's not starting left field most games, then I think, pressure can come off the kid and maybe he can focus a little bit better on finding
Yeah, I
his
mean
swing again.
just like we said with IKF this year,
Just like
he
with
had less
IKF, yeah.
focus
When you're not having to
on
fill a role you weren't made
meant to
made
do,
for
and
or meant to do, yeah, then
yeah.
it becomes a little easier to focus on the things that you can improve. So yeah, I like IKF. I hope he can find a good contract. I just think he got, we don't, if we're trying to make room for he's a little bit of an easy contract to get rid of
Like
and,
move. Yeah.
at least have a bit of a chunk of money. I think he made what, 6 million
6
last year.
million. Yeah.
So it's
Sorry,
not
not
nothing.
to interrupt, but I got to get this out. Just between Ryan saying like taking it as cheap as he can, and then mentioning IKF. You guys follow Patches O'Houlihan, right?
Well, sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess she shared like a DM or something from Tinder or something like that when somebody asked her, "Are you IKF? Because I want you in all positions."
Oh, jeez.
Oh gosh.
And then you see underneath it that like she accepted the request.
I'm like, okay, that was funny enough that
That's funny.
Okay, done. All right,
Done,
continue.
done. You're done.
But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
I just don't think that they should pay him. I don't think they should pay a bench utility guy that much money. He was good for last
yeah.
year for us keeping him, but
And
he'll
I'm
move on
so
to a
glad
different
he had
team.
last year too. Like last year he was like a
It was
hero
good
in some game.
redemption
Like
for him.
everybody really loved him. It was a good redemption arc for IKF. He was in the role he was meant to play, and he did very well. I don't think he did amazing and he should win awards for whatever he did, but he did very well at what he did and came through when he needed, mostly when he needed to. So
Yeah.
another one that's sad, but I agree, don't re-sign him is Luis Severino. Like I
Yeah.
think at the end of the
And I
year,
think that's the obvious one too to
that
not
is the
resign.
obvious one. Yeah, this is not a hot take. I think at the end of the year, when he came back at the end and he was pitching pretty well, I was like, I think they should re-sign him, do a 1-year prove it deal. He's been with the Yankees forever, and then he got injured again, and then the look on his face was just utter. He was crushed, and like
Yeah.
it was
It's
just so
definitely a sad
like
end
it's
for his
sad.
Yankee career
So
because there was one point where Sevy was a Cy Young
he
candidate,
and that
and
Sevy
he was
roar
one of the
on the
best
mound.
pitchers out there. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a sad thing to see him have to go, but you can't
Yeah,
have
I
somebody who's with already, like we mentioned, Cortez um, and
yeah,
Rodon having injury issues and
can't add
Cole
Sevy
getting
in
up there
there
with
with it.
age. Now, Cole's been
It was
good
workhorse last
health
year.
wise. He's a
Every single start.
workhorse,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
still, like you just don't need to add that on top of everything else. So
Right, right. I hope Severino can find a 1-year prove it deal with a team
team and do
and
well, but
shove
take
and
care of
as long
him
as it's
and
not
yeah,
in the AL East, go
yeah.
somewhere else.
Go to the Giants,
Or the
the
Astros. Yeah.
Cardinals, or
Yeah,
yeah.
go the NL. And
Um,
yeah.
but
So,
speaking of pitching, there's a major pitcher that I think moving into other offseason signings that the Yankees, not Yankee players that the Yankees should sign, um, is Yamoto.
oh
There's
yeah.
some concern with him because of his
Oh,
playoff
he pitched in
pitching,
the postseason. Yeah.
and apparently he's got some issues with that entirely. But he's also an ace there, and again, I think one of the things that people have to take in mind is that your position in the rotation is going to also affect how you pitch in the postseason. You know, Garrett Cole, he's not taking Garrett Cole's place as the ace. So there's a little bit less pressure on him, and I think that will result into some better outings for him. Maybe that's just the way I see it, and maybe just me being hopeful. But the dude like can pitch. Like his breaking stuff is insane. Um, Rodon is obviously not the guy who we thought he would be. I mean, I'm hoping we have him for another 5 years, so I hope that he's better than what he was this year. But it's obvious we need even with getting Montas on a 1-year prove it deal, um, it would be nice to add another star pitching to that. I'm seeing that 200 million is probably 8 years, 200 million is probably the number he's going to get with whatever team he goes to. I'm hoping it's less because that's 25 million a year to a player who hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball yet.
Yeah.
But he is young, so that's one of the nicer things. Like last year, I thought the Red Sox were stupid, and it proved out to be true for giving Yoshida
Look good in the beginning.
6 or 7 years
Yeah.
to a guy who's 29 years old and hasn't
Right.
played yet.
Right.
That was a lot of money to a guy who just basically showed up for the World Baseball Classic. I mean, he had really good numbers in Japan, but at
Yeah.
29 years old, that's a pretty old rookie to be giving that much money to. that quickly, and that's why a lot of GMs were saying that it wasn't a good deal, and it proved to be.
Geez, just put him
not
out.
a good
Put him
deal.
out to pasture already. Christ, 29.
29.
I
Yeah.
know.
think I-
sound. It's rough saying that because
I saw that meme today.
few
It
more
like
months.
it hit home real hard. It was like, me, I'm only 35. I'm so young and have the rest of my life to look forward to, or whatever. And then it was like, sports announcer on TV, and in walked in the 32-year-old athlete who is just on the last legs of anything that he can do physically. And
Oh yeah, I mean they call what's his name, LeBron James ancient because he's 38
yeah,
playing in.
I know. I'm like, Jesus.
Like,
Seriously, DiCaprio is dry retching somewhere. Just thinking about those ages.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. I'm sure.
So Yamamoto is a guy. I don't know if you think that the Yankees should get him with the potential.
Yeah, my emotions
Postseason?
swing so fast. I mean, when he was when after he pitched that perfect game, and then Brian Cashman was actually in attendance for that game, I was like, yes, get him. This is awesome, especially when Rodon is going through everything he's going through. Montas is out, and Cortez is like, get him. And then I see all this stuff about the postseason, which makes me pause. But he is young, like you said. Maybe I might not be. I don't know. I'm just so nervous about a longer contract for a pitcher.
It is a long contract. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
That part makes me a little nervous. You know, he hasn't pitched in the big leagues. He hasn't faced Harper's. Not you wouldn't face him every day, but we don't face
true.
him. So I guess that's a bad example.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
it's a bad example for a
Yankee.
Yankee. We don't. Right, but yeah, I mean, how are you going to do? Yeah, when you face the best players in the league,
face Aldis Garcia, known steroid user.
Yeah, known steroid user. Yeah, when you face him and in the Bronx, and handling all of that. I mean, maybe he handles it great. His potential is clearly his ceiling is pretty high. So I think I hope that they do talk to him.
It's one of those
serious
things
talks
that I
with
think
him.
If they have talks with him, feel comfortable with what those interviews go with, how they go, and everything like that. It's one of those risks you got to take because, again, the Red Sox are there looking. The Astros will probably be there
Exactly.
looking.
Yeah.
And do you want
and our pitching needs help, so
yeah. Do you want them to get that player? So,
right.
Because outside of that, I mean, I'm sure there are bigger ones. I just don't know offhand which
I guess the
ones
big,
they are, but
this
Jordan
one goes
Montgomery
into
is another big name that's on a free agent, and I just don't know if he would even want to come back to the Yankees.
I don't know if he wants to come back, but I think if I were going to pick one, one or the other, I previously said I think with my feelings a lot, so I'm like, I would want Monty back. I hated it when they traded him. I really liked Bader, ended up liking Bader, but they traded Monty, whose clubhouse loved throughout the clubhouse, for a guy in a boot. And it really effed up the team. So I think him coming back would be really cool. And he pitched and he showed the Yankees, F you, I can pitch with my fastball. I really don't understand what that was all about anyway. So I would love to have him back, but I hear you there. Why would he want to come back after he was told by the GM that
your fastball sucks, and he's out? He admitted it.
He said it. That's what the Yankees,
because he said it in an interview.
Right.
It's not something that's just rumored.
And then the GM says as he leaves, we just didn't, we didn't think that he was going to play in the postseason. Are you serious? And he
now he's won the World Series. Speaking of,
and pitched very he pitched. He was dominant.
Did you see the picture of all the Rangers?
Did you not? I posted. Yeah, I posted. I was like, did they know how much this would hurt us? I mean, I don't honestly care about most of the rest of them, but it was just like the fact that the four of them got together. And
so anybody who doesn't know, that's Eovaldi, Chapman, Monty, and Andrew Heaney. Yeah. I mean, I liked Eovaldi when he was there. I kind of thought that maybe the Yankees could go after him last year, but I understood why they didn't. And then I was really disappointed that they didn't.
It turns out. I think I wrote and I tweeted out just happy for Monty, good for Eovaldi and Heaney, Chapman. Like, I'm
Yeah.
really mad that Chapman has another World Series win, and
Yeah.
like,
And it
just so
doesn't
mad.
involve the Yankees.
Yeah, without not on the Yankees. Yeah.
So, my other offseason signing, I was big on him last year. I really want him in pinstripes. Um, and I really don't think that he's going to be another Joey Gallo, is Cody Bellinger.
Yes, that was
A lot
one.
of people like to make that that comparison that,
He's
you're just
not
going to
Joe.
set up for another Joey Gallo. But there's the thing with Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo was never a hitter. Like, never I mean, he's a home run hitter, but he was never a consistent on-base hitter. Bellinger, for multiple years with the Dodgers, was hitting over 300, was an MVP of the league. You never had that with Gallo. So, like, it wasn't like Gallo lost something that he previously had. He just become significantly worse of something he was already bad at. Bellinger had a really bad season in LA. The organization just kept shoving him out into his position, which, I mean, in part, we always give the Yankees crap for taking them away from positions if they're not
Sure.
doing, they,
like being too inconsistent with where you're putting them in the lineup,
right,
or
like
a
Peraza or something. Like, they,
Yeah.
as soon as they can, they put him back down.
Yeah.
But he was just in a bad position there. His time in LA came to an end very abruptly, and he just couldn't figure it out. He's figured something out when it came to the Cubs. I think he hit over 300 again this past year.
I mean, he did
hit
very
almost
well
30 home runs in a park that is not good for lefties. There's a park
True.
out there that I know is very good for lefties hitting home runs, and
They call it.
we need a guy who can hit well and hit for on base percentage and can get on base. He walks well, and he's also a very good defender. I'm a little annoyed when people say go sign Bellinger and put him at first base. Why?
They don't. Why?
Put him in center field, and we'll get into it
first
more
base
later.
open for Aaron Judge.
We need a center field. Yeah, I was going to say we need a center fielder. We need a left fielder. I know we have a center fielder waiting to come up.
Yeah, but he won't be up
got
until
Tommy
June
John
or July. Yeah.
Sorry, I just heard Jason Mendoza in my head. Like, we just need an offense and defense and some rule changes.
Okay, look. Okay, the Yankees are down bad, but they're not the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, so look.
Hey, the Jaguars are good this year.
That's also in the good place.
Impossible.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. Like, when things start going crazy, they're like, and the Jaguars are good? Nobody knows why.
Impossible.
That's funny. Other thing I think that the Yankees should be doing is looking to trade. I would trade Clark Schmidt. There's one potential big name that they could trade him for, but which we'll get into in a second. But I think, like, the Cardinals are a team that, like Clark Schmidt, they need starting pitching
Yankees
help
have
now.
a good avenue there,
and
too.
I think that Brandon Donovan is a potential person they can bring up. I would not mind seeing them trading Clark Schmidt and I know we recently talked about him being the utility guy for us, but Oswaldo Cabrera.
You're sending Waldo away? All right.
I mean, to get Donovan,
fair.
who can play a lot of infield positions. I don't think he can play the outfield that I know of, but he can play pretty much any infield position, and he's an on-base hitter. He's actually his OPS plus would have been third on the team last year.
Yeah.
Behind
Judge, the way I see
it,
we do have a lot of, questions. So, we have a lot of moves to make. So there's not too many people I would say you should be holding on to. Like, whatever moves Brian Cashman needs to freaking make to fix the mess he created, make him. Because we need a third baseman. We need a left fielder. We need a center fielder. We can't. Yeah. There's no patchwork until June or July. We saw how that doesn't work. They were going to patchwork it.
You don't know how good he's going to be.
Yeah, you don't know what Jason Dominguez you're coming back with. I mean, he's young. Most likely he'll be okay, but you can't. No, just don't stop doing that kind of stuff.
If I hear in the next press conference that we can promote from within, we can solve our issues from within, I'm going to scream.
Somebody like we have some very good talent coming up. I'm sure Wells is going to, be dominant. We're going to lose probably Higgy, maybe
Yeah.
Trevino, but probably Higgy. And
I think we have Higgy and not Higgy, Trevino and Wells as our catching duo next year. Higgy gets traded.
So there are some potential call-ups. Who knows what they do with Peraza, but he's a good trade piece for some good talent that we would like to get on our team we're about to talk about. So like we've got all these holes to fill, and I think Bellinger could fill a good Clifton. We have and I think Bellinger could fill a good hole in the outfield.
I'm sure he could.
Like, our mother watches this. Keep your mouth like stop.
What's funny is in Laura Grace would kill me. Whenever I play MLB The Show, the game loves to say that so and so went deep. They hit that one hard. They did this, and she will like make the same little laughs that Cliff is making.
Will she?
Yeah. So when he was doing that, it just reminded me of.
Do you know how
remember this
had to?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you remember when? This is a long time ago. So
Laura Grace just texted me.
She's like, "Don't say this." When I was first starting to make Cliff watch baseball, when we first started dating, and A-Rod and Jeter were on the I figured that's what you were going to say. On the left side of the infield, I needed to explain to him multiple times what soft hands meant and why they were saying and why they were saying that A-Rod had soft hands over at third. So, yeah. I've been dealing with this for quite a while.
Remember the Family Guy skit when they were talking about like Pujols getting sloppily eaten out at home?
And then and Pujols' season where he's hitting getting to 700. Do you know every Cliff is just gleefully every time everything's on. He's like, what'd they say? Who was it? Anyway,
I've derailed this whole thing.
To.
So we've alluded to a particular conversation for a bit now. Moving on.
Moving on.
To give some context real quick as to why this is becoming more of a reality than it was maybe a month ago. The San Diego Padres were a team that had a lot of young talent. They were looking really good. I think they made the playoffs a couple years ago, and they just started re-signing and signing everybody. They got Manny Machado from the Dodgers, and then they gave him a big contract. They signed Bogarts in the offseason to a big contract. They re-signed Jake Cronenworth.
They signed Tatis to a huge contract.
Yes, and then he got injured. And then he got steroids.
Yep.
They signed. They re-signed Jake Cronenworth to a big contract, and that didn't go well. They traded for Josh Hader. They added other pieces. I think I'm blanking. Musgrove pitching, as well as Yu Darvish. They gave big contracts to. A lot of big contracts, which means a lot of money. They just put out a
press.
They just put out a press release or something came out that $50 million loan they had to take out for paying their players, which means that they're likely going to have to fire sale as much as they can. So
Cliff has to pop out for a second. We have guests coming, which is our sister, and and we have to turn the oven on. Our Wi-Fi in the oven isn't turning it on.
I saw a lot of that going on in the background, like the messaging going on. I'm like, should I stop? I don't know.
He's like, the remote is off. I can't preheat the oven from here. Our fancy oven is not working.
And at this point, just because of how much this podcast has gone off the rolls and off the
the rails. Also off
in
the
the last
rolls.
little bit. Yeah. In the last like half hour. Erin's probably going to end up joining this podcast.
Oh yeah,
if
Erin
she
will
gets
probably
here.
be here in a second. I think she left about 5:30, so she'll be here in about 10 minutes or so. So anyway.
So little peek behind the curtain. Now you know how close we are to our kitchen.
Yes, it's pretty close. So anyway, yeah. So the Padres are in a bad place. They had to take out a $50 million loan to cover the salaries of their
as a team
players
broke
this year.
Last time this happened was in 2011. The Dodgers owner McCourt, I think that's how you say the name, McCourt for the Dodgers had to do the same thing, and the MLB commissioner, which was, I don't remember who that was at the time.
No, I don't know. No, that's too late. I don't know. I forget who was between them. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, he forced the team to sell. So that's Boley owns the team now. But prior to that, McCourt owned it, and they had to sell the team because they did not have money. That's probably a future conversation when that happens. But the real question is right now, Juan Soto. They cannot re-sign him, obviously. So he only has 1 year left after the trade from the Nationals, and they cannot extend him. They don't have the money for the players they have now, so they cannot re-sign him to any deal. So teams are going to be asking for him, including the Yankees, including the Red Sox, including anybody who's out there who wants
everybody wants Soto.
23-year-old, 5-year veteran outfielder. This guy's been playing since he was 18. He's rookie of the year, former rookie of the year, potential and most likely an eventual MVP of the league. And
needs
if he gets
leader.
to the right team, needs a leader. Yeah, he did not have much leadership over there.
I'm really hoping that because every big market team is going to be in on Juan Soto. Any big market team,
I think with the exception of the Dodgers. That's just my opinion.
Right? Yeah, because
Dodgers are all in on a different player.
Yeah, right. So, and they don't really need outfield. Right. Yeah, I was trying to think if they needed anybody out there. So, I
mean, they could make it work if they got him, because Mookie Betts can play anywhere
he wants.
Weirdly, dude is way too athletic.
He's also a super awesome bowler or something.
He could be a professional bowler. He could probably be a professional golfer.
He just chooses to play baseball. Yeah. Anyway, So everybody's going to be in on Soto that can afford him. And so the Yankees need, in my opinion, to do whatever it takes. We were talking before this. The only two people that are not on the table to get Soto, in my opinion, should be Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
And it ends there.
I don't think I cannot put another person on that list. I don't know of another player that I can say, yep, don't trade him.
Love you, Volpe. You look like a fun kid. But if you are the breaking point for Soto, which honestly, there are so many people that could be a break, in these hypotheticals, but I don't think most of them will be. I mean, the most credible ones could be Rizzo, apparently.
Rizzo and Torres.
Rizzo would.
I don't think it'd be
Torres.
both, but one of them.
I don't. Yeah,
I
think
imagine
it would
they're
only
going to
be
want one of them.
Yeah, and if it's Rizzo, Rizzo is one of my favorite players on the team. I love him. I love watching him and Judge. They're so cute. But I will pack your bags for you.
I'm sure that's what they're going for.
I love you so much. I will help you move. I'm just if it's for Juan Soto, this is a generational talent. You don't just go, but we like Rizzo.
Now, one of the things too with the team being in such a disarray, which is crazy to think that there's a team in more of a disarray than the Yankees. But
also, that's true.
The Padres
do you remember
put themselves in that position.
Yeah, they make terrible business decisions knowing this. When did they get? I wonder. I don't know when they got this loan, but last offseason they offered Aaron Judge more money than he's making on the Yankees right now. At the last minute,
they offered him one more year.
Offered one more, but okay. So they offered him one more year. So maybe not
more money,
AAV, but year. Okay. So they would have actually had to pay a little less per year than the Yankees are paying, is what you're saying.
No, it was the same. They offered him the same amount, AAV,
same AAV, but more another
just
year.
one more
So
year.
okay. So, but still, so technically, that's more. That's not more AAV, but that's more money on the contract.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been
Yeah.
another $40 million contract,
Right.
and it wasn't like they
And they
signed
were
Bogarts
with
instead. They already signed Bogarts, and then they're like, oh, yeah,
you're
Judge.
right. This whole offseason, they're like, and they were all in on Correa at first, and
There was
right.
conversations that they were going to be in on Shohei. That's not happening now.
So it was like, what are all the like? Clearly, they were banking on if we get all these stars, if we do what everyone says the Yankees do, at least in the late '90s, early 2000s, we'll win a World Series and maybe multiple. And I'm sure that is what they were banking on and why they were like willing to go that far into debt. And it's like this kind of shows that you need a better mix of people, that you need a leader. And like I said, I think Juan Soto needs a leader. Like I think he would do very well under Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Aaron Judge is obviously a very good leader. Rizzo, if he's still on the team, like if it's Torres packaged instead, if you have the two of them, they're very good leaders. But even if Rizzo's gone, Judge is a very good leader. Cole is a very good leader. And having a young guy in the lineup that like Soto, who is a star, who's got. I mean, he's not an eccentric player like Nick Swisher, but he does bring a little bit of a different energy to the team, where the Yankees need that. And like you said, there's nobody who's off the table because this guy is going to be great for whatever team he plays for. And especially if the Red Sox are willing to give that extra player, the Yankees better not lose out on Soto to the Red Sox.
Right. Like I honestly don't
the
think
only
it's
reason why you lose out on Soto to the Red Sox is if you sign Shohei. And even then, I'm like, did we really win?
Right. I would still be like, ooh, did we just make that decision? Like, I mean, Shohei is also a generational talent. I don't want people coming at me.
People. Oh yeah, Shohei's the greatest player probably of all time. But
do the Yankees need him? And would he?
And there's a lot of question
be the one that
come up,
helps the Yankees the most? Soto will help the Yankees the most. We have Stanton.
We need a lefty
in the DH spot who has a no trade clause. So even if you want to think that he's
a lot of people want to try to put out to trade him,
and maybe they do try
to move, but
right.
He's got to be willing to move,
right?
And we've seen last year there was a player who basically canned.
He was like, nah. He didn't want to go to the Tigers, or he was on the Tigers and didn't want to go to the Dodgers, or something.
Yeah, it was Tigers. Eduardo Rodriguez. He was traded to the Dodgers, and he said no.
Nah. I'm gonna stay in Detroit. Funny. Okay. It's like, oh,
kind of find funny. Like, what do you have in Detroit that you
maybe
wanna,
he just maybe didn't want LA taxes or something, or California tax. Who knows what it is? But
anyway, yeah. I mean, so not many people are off the table. I mean, I would imagine it'd be some. This is my list. I imagine it'd be some combination of this, of Rizzo, Torres, Peraza, Dominguez, Wells, Jones, or Schmidt. Now, I'm not saying all those guys, just a combination.
I would probably say we're going to be sending
Rizzo
probably
or Torres, Peraza or Dominguez, and then Wells, Jones, or Schmidt.
I've seen a lot of people, including Michael King, in some of these trades, which
I think
makes
that would
me
have
sad.
been before
George Clooney married.
And it could still happen.
What the hell was that?
Sorry.
George Clooney. We'll trade George Clooney to get Juan Soto.
I think. I mean, again, King is on the table, but I think the King was more before we knew about the money issues,
the struggles. And I think, I mean, the struggles are, their money issues are only going to help any team really with their negotiation, because they need to offload money. So people know that. So, and the Padres have already acknowledged that they are not going to get the same return that they sent to the Nationals to get Soto. They sent their whole farm went to get Soto. So, they're not going to be able to get the same kind of return for him.
I mean,
now,
older.
you brought up,
not much older, but he's older. They don't have the money. They're desperate.
Yeah.
So
I mean, an avenue too, like you brought up a little earlier, the guy, remind me,
Jake Cronenworth.
that, yeah.
So they signed him to a mega deal, and he sucked last year.
And maybe, so sure, we'll take that contract for you. Maybe Matt Blake can fix him. And he's done wonders. I'm sorry.
Matt Blake.
He's not a pitcher.
No, he's a first baseman, second baseman.
Oh, okay. Why did I think he's a pitcher? Who am I thinking? Anyway, whatever. So fine, whatever. We'll find a place for him.
I was going to say,
if Rizzo's going,
coach right now to,
I don't know who's going to fix it.
I feel like to get Soto, you're definitely going to have to trade Torres or Rizzo. They're not going to get both, but they're going to have to trade one. And either way, Cronenworth can play that position.
Yeah. So, and I think if they have to if I'm going to send one or the other, I'd rather send Rizzo. I mean, love Rizzo, but I'd rather send Rizzo over Torres.
I think if you add in Cronenworth to that with that contract, give us Hader too. I know you're a big fan of Hader.
I like Hader, and I think we need a freaking closer. And if we could get Hader packaged in that deal too, like, hey, you want to offload some more money? Like, bring Hader our way.
Yeah.
I think that.
And in that case, I would not again, King. I love King, but if we were getting Hader and Soto.
Yeah, King at the end of the year does throw in a different question now. If King, King showed
he's a spot starter.
Yeah, and he showed that. I think they're stretching him out to be a starter.
A full starter.
Yeah, by the end of the year, I think he went.
He went 4 innings in one game. I know.
I think he went longer in another game, because it was like he was like, okay, I'm ready to do this, and he looked really good. So
now,
that's my only.
That if they sign a Yamamoto and re-sign Montez,
right? So I think there's a lot of moving pieces here. If they sign Yamamoto, do they need their need for King is maybe a little less, and so that you can include him in tables on the table, and I like we said, there is nobody in my mind. There's so many. I love Michael King. Like, he's one of my favorite pitchers, and I love that he's going to get his dream to possibly be in the starting rotation. I will also pack your bags. Like, there is no, Jason Dominguez, I don't think it'll take him. And I think it might be easy to convince them, you don't really want Jason Dominguez. He has to get Tommy John surgery. It
would be sad to see like a Spencer Jones go just because of his potential. But with his potential, again, there's a question mark of whether Spencer Jones will be good.
And the Padres do need to beef up their. Yeah, like the Padres need to beef up their farm system right now so that they can, have cheaper players in the future to pay. And so probably some of our high level prospects, two of our high level prospects are going.
Yeah, I think Jones goes.
Yeah. And we're also all talking about this as if, Brian Cashman is going to be all in on Juan Soto. I think they would be absolutely stupid, but they've also proven that they are absolutely stupid. So who knows? So maybe they just treat this as like Bryce Harper and they're like, we have Oswaldo Cabrera. I really hope not. I like, in my heart of hearts, I don't think they can do that. But
what they'll say is, Stanton is, and they've kind of already tried to say this. Stanton, when playing left field, is. I think they did make a comment on this that if they can play left field, that he would be up there with the best outfielders in the game. And I'm like,
you have to be kidding me. Yeah. No.
First of all, make him do it. Or not Soto. Stanton plays better in the outfield when he plays better in the outfield.
Yeah, he hits better when he plays in the outfield. Yeah.
But his injury rate, and he's 35? Soto is 23.
I think he's 34. But yes.
He's 34. But still,
he's so old.
What? 12 years? 12 years younger? 11 years younger?
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean,
you got to take Soto. You can keep Stanton.
Well, they've also proven time and again they will not put Stanton in the outfield in a consistent basis. Like, I don't know what's up with him. I don't know if it's he's doing too.
He's supposed to be doing some more yoga work this
I really need him to do some more flexibility things. Back. And
because I think the last few off seasons he's been focusing too much on the weights and trying to beef up more, and now
getting ready for the Sports Illustrated body issue. Yeah. David Cohn was even mentioning like he's concerned about the his stance and just how rigid he is everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's
I mean,
just
when
like
you do that, that's going to cause injury.
yeah, and I really think Stanton is he's a great guy. He takes ownership for everything, but he's not. I mean, he had a few great years. One, one could argue one great year, and so
I mean, he can be very good if he can be consistent. He can be very good.
if he can stay on the field, he can be very good.
Yeah.
We keep
But
hoping for
Soto. There's no reason to think that Stanton is going to give you Soto
he's not
numbers
gonna
or
give
do
you
what
Soto
Soto can do.
right. The value on both sides of the field.
Soto walks like no person in the MLB. He hits massive home runs. Like you're basically getting lefty Judge who can walk more than he strikes out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, I don't doubt that they'll try to shop Stanton. He'll have to approve it though. So it's likely that he's still on the team. And then it's very likely
I'm
too
fine
that they
with
still
Stanton
use
being
it.
on the team. Just get
They
Soto
may
too.
still just
Don't think that Stanton is Soto. That's my
Right.
only
Yeah.
if he's never going to listen to this, but if Cashman would listen to anybody, Stanton is not Soto.
So please stop using him as an excuse to not get Soto. Yeah.
Hey guys, we're getting pretty long in the pod here.
Okay. Everybody gets it. We
All
really want
right.
Soto.
We really
on the
want
team.
Soto. All right, let's finish off with talking about Shohei. We'll make it quick. Who gets Shohei?
The Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
Probably a West Coast team. Yeah. Probably a West Coast team, really. I mean, every big market team that needs a pitcher / hitter, which will probably be in on the talks. But the Dodgers specifically did nothing last year, like we've talked about, just to get.
The Dodgers are the obvious one. The Yankees are obviously should be within that conversation.
Be an obvious, but
they need a lefty home run hitter. The issue with Shohei is you get Shohei, you must trade Stanton. Or figure out a way for him to play right field.
Get him in the field. Yeah.
Yeah, you must get him in the right field and move Judge to first base, which means out goes Rizzo.
But if you Judge get Shohei, could play left field. I don't know why they don't put Judge. I mean, I want Soto. I'm not saying, but Judge.
There's a left fielder that I want.
To play. I know. But I'm just saying, Judge could play left field, and they seem.
Soto.
Yeah. True. Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and honestly, for Shohei's sake, I mean, don't you think they'd just screw him up? Like, don't you think the Yankees would somehow find a way to screw up Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of it's going to be a very interesting offseason when it comes to Shohei Ohtani. I think whatever team gets him, I mean, he's going to probably make a $500 million contract.
Yeah, whatever team gets him is going to have to prepare.
I think, but I think the teams have to make some type of deal with him that his contract gets front loaded, because that's when he's going to pitch.
Most value. Yeah.
Because
I mean,
after about 4 or 5 years, he's not going to be able to pitch anymore and be consistent in both. Just age is going to get up there, and he's going to have to focus on one. DH is probably the easier one to do, so pitching will probably go. And if a team is smart, they're going to have to plan for that, hey, after 5 years, your contract is going to dip down to $40 million. I mean,
I mean, if they, if they don't,
I mean, it's still a lot of money, But
take a big pay cut there. I think that's the smart move. Like, you would need to have that conversation about how many years do we really think that you're going to be doing both. And for his health, I mean, he already has to have Tommy John surgery. I mean, someone could argue that could give him a little more length in his arm, because sometimes pitchers come back even better after Tommy John surgery. But
does he have to get Tommy John surgery?
Wasn't it Tommy John? I thought it was. I know, at the end of the year, something happened to his elbow. He got 2 injuries, back to back. It was his back.
One for pitching and then one for hitting.
Yeah, and I think he played with it for a little while, and it was also how that was going down was oh, he is not an angel next year. It doesn't even matter.
Didn't he they were clear his locker room?
Yeah, and they threw him under the bus about stuff. They were well, the team doctor told him he should do that, but he insisted on playing and blah blah blah, and it was they were it was like, do you want him to play with you next year, or just like, no,
They
you're
just
done?
know he's not.
And so they're
They
just
knew he
like,
wasn't.
we're just not even going to be nice to the like nicest player that seemingly
Ever
is on
lived,
in MLB. But so I think there was
I think it's
there
going to
was
be
they're
it's
going
going
to
to
have
be
to
interesting for
talk
sure.
about that.
But more than likely, it's the Dodgers. I mean, like we said before, the Dodgers didn't make any real deals last year. They made some moves this year, I think, to make sure that they can put a lot of money towards Shohei. Shohei, I think, wants to be a Dodger. I think he likes LA, just wants to play for a team that actually wins in LA, and wants to be on the West Coast. So, I mean, with that, of course, the Yankees are going to be in on him, like we said. The Mets are supposedly in on him, but from what we know with Scherzer, they're not planning to be good this year. So I also doubt that one.
Yeah, that was my thought too. Like they said, they were like, "Well, we'll try to win in 25, right?" That was the 26 or something.
20, something like that. And then the other West Coast teams, not named the Padres,
Dodgers,
because of money issues, or because of
Padres
being awful. Well, they're actually not even West Coast anymore, but the Athletics.
Right.
Basically, the other two teams that he might sign with are the Giants and the Mariners, just because they're also on West Coast, and it's where he wants to be. But I highly doubt Mariners, because that's what kind of West Coast he means. Giants are a maybe. They wanted to throw a lot of money at Correa last year.
They were going to throw a lot of money at Judge.
Yeah, if the Dodgers aren't giving Shohei what he wants, that is really my second place team. The Yankees make
Shohei
sense.
uses
I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen on the Yankees, and I think Shohei uses the Giants as a as a bargaining chip with the Dodgers. Like, pay me or I go here. Like that's how I see it going. Who knows? Off seasons are crazy and you never know, but that seems most likely. And so he's going to get paid wherever he goes.
So, all right.
It'll be an interesting off season. I can't wait to really see how it goes.
We'll definitely talk more about that, especially we kind of did a little bit of our predictions with signings now. Again, I want Bellinger. I had to throw that out there. I really want Bellinger in
he's
pinstripes.
Got Yankee history, and Dad was a Yankee.
Dad played on the Yankees.
Dad won a World Series a Yankee. Maybe we just need a Bellinger.
We need a Bellinger on the team.
Get us over the hump.
So, I would love to see Bellinger there, but we'll talk more about free agents signings, potential where they go. We might do more above predictions on where not all free agents, but the big free agents go to any team. Like where who might get what and what might happen.
Say November certainly rumors month, like galore, because then nothing really, and then the winter meetings happen and things start really picking up in like early December, and then it's like quiet, and then everything happens in January.
Yeah, I mean, just what to prepare for is basically you're going to have a lot of early signings and then nothing in the middle, and then a lot as it kind of comes closer to spring training.
And kind of a little bit like last year, people were waiting for Judge to sign before bigger things were being signed, and Correa was kind of ahead of that, but people usually once a huge name gets signed from free agency, then the floodgates
start to open. So all right, well,
an interesting off season. The Yankees better make moves.
Yes, we expect a press conference here soon. I forgot what day.
They've sneakily avoided having what normally it's like a few days after whenever the Yankees are done. Now the Yankees are normally done in the postseason at some point, but this year no, and they have sneakily avoided talking about anything in the off season. So at some point the presser will be here and we'll hear how they want to spin what they're doing.
Spin the season and what they're going to do for this off season. Again, I mean, I would hate it, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear win from within. Like, we have the tools to win from within.
We can win with the players we have.
Yeah.
Like, no, you showed you couldn't even get into the postseason with the players you have, so do something.
Well, was the players the issue, or
The players, the
we are
manager, the
we are
GM. There's too
go
many
back
issues
and
to,
listen to all the pods from the regular season, and you'll have your
especially
answer.
those in July.
Yeah, there are several. Yeah, don't listen to the April and
Early
May
season.
ones. Those
Yeah.
are happy
Those are
happier
hopeful.
ones. Yeah.
I barely recognize the
Um,
people in those pods.
It's the cycle of being a baseball fan.
Yeah.
It's the season sucks, and then the off season starts, and then you're like, oh, all these people we could get, all the potential, and then you get all the people, and then you start buying in full on for anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. Now they're a Yankee, and they're going to be the best, so we're going to win. And that's what all of February, March, and April are about. And then this real season starts.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, we just need to incorporate that strategy that we saw in Elemental, where you just are positive and you give your support to the team.
Ryan, have you seen Elemental?
No.
It is a
that
very.
is
like
that
the Pixar one?
Animated.
It's the
Pixar
Pixar one that was. It's
where
actually really
elements
cute.
have feelings.
Yeah, well, they didn't do a good job of marketing this. It was actually a really cute movie. But in one of the scenes, the fire girl goes with the water guy to a
Sporting event of some kind.
To a sporting event that's kind of like basketball, kind of like Quidditch, and and there's just a ton of fart jokes on it because it's like the windbreakers and so real mature. But
their cheers toot toot.
Yeah, toot toot is their cheer. So a ton of fart jokes. Anyway, there's a guy on the team that hasn't been playing well. One of the Clouds are not playing well.
So he's getting booed.
And he's just really sad, very Hicks like out there. Hicks missing a ball in foul territory and pouting about it on the field. And then the water guy who's super into his feelings and very wants to make everybody feel better, said he's been feeling really
because
bad.
Of his mom.
Sick. and then he
starts screaming,
he
"We
just
love
needs
you!"
Some love, and he gets the whole stadium to
"We love you!"
cheer for him. They do a literal wave, haha. And
then he perks up and he wins.
And he perks up and he does so well. He Trey Turners this shit.
That's exactly what Megan said.
Exactly. That's what I told. I was like, that would never happen in New York. I was telling, as it came on, I was I was waiting for Cliff to be like,
just be booed.
I was like, that doesn't happen in New York. I was like, it normally doesn't happen in Philly, but Trey Turner is a different story. And they still stood up, gave him a standing ovation, and that man went on a huge tear to the end of the season.
Yeah.
So,
but
it wouldn't happen in the Bronx, honey. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not just the place that will happen.
Bronx cheer. There's a reason Bronx cheer is a boo. So,
yeah. Well, there's going to be, like we said, it's going to be a very interesting off season. There's going to be a lot of things that are going on. Some things that are kind of boring that we'll try to at least explain and make sense of, like arbitration.
Like the difference between non-tendering and outrighting and what are these ARB meetings about? We'll try to talk about that, make that boring stuff seem a little
interesting or at least give it some knowledge of it and maybe learn some stuff on our own end
knowledge
as it goes.
So
definitely some interesting podcasts coming up. I definitely know that we're going to be talking about our great uncle sometime soon here.
Yes, we have to gather all the facts and make sure we understand the story ourselves.
Well, we're already over an hour. Do you want to give it a couple more minutes and get the other sibling on camera?
Oh, Aaron's here.
Yeah, I'm looking at them in the camera. They just pulled up.
I guess if she wants to.
A few minutes later.
You'll have to cut out some of this awkward silence.
It's only awkward if you make it awkward, and you just did, so.
Many, many minutes later.
I hear Ginny going. That must be her coming in.
Yeah, I think I heard the door. Oh. And now Abby has been awakened. She doesn't even know what she's barking about.
5 minutes later.
Come on in.
Yeah, she might have had a point. I don't know.
Hello.
Now you got to go around and be on camera.
Come join us. You're beautiful. Come here.
Oh,
say hello.
hi, Ryan.
Hello. I don't know. You probably can't hear me.
This is the
Oh,
other
yeah,
sibling.
He said hello. And Mike is there. He does not want to be on camera.
Mike says no.
Mike says no.
So we interrupted your podcast. Sorry.
That's okay. We were signing off and we heard you coming in. So like might as well. So
Yes.
So say the goodbye, Ryan.
Yes.
Okay.
Where can they follow us, Ryan?
Yes, so follow us on Twitter. The app formerly known as Twitter.
Right.
At
On
Damn
X.
Yanks _pod. Same for Instagram at Damn Yanks pod for Facebook. And I keep forgetting Threads, as I'm sure many people do.
I'm not sure we post on there much yet.
I always
pod there as well.
I always post the Threads.
Oh, Cliff's on it. He does both.
Yeah.
Oh, just kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How about that?
Pay attention to our own social media. My bad. All right.
I'm not
Yes,
even
follow
on
us in all the
Threads, so
places.
I don't even know.
Yeah, but you're on TikTok, you weirdo.
Well, he's not. I mean, we're the weirdos. We're the old ones. Okay. So
He's a little old for
catch
TikTok.
us next time.
Subscribe to our YouTube and our Spotify, depending on which one you watch us on, to keep up to date with our future podcasts.
Yes.
Where we're going over more of the off-season circus
and other stuff
that happens and other stuff that goes with it. So keep following us. Thank you for listening to us banter about.
Half of our listeners are here in the house, so
yeah,
they're getting a sneak peek. So yes.
Anyway, thank you, and
yes.
see ya.
See ya.